Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What is your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
I'm gonna start off this. There's no fun segue into this movie, whatever. We're talking bullshit, but
It's gonna be hard when I'm sad.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those like this is gonna be like 14 minutes and then it'll be done. But
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see because it's so acclaimed. Like people say,
we'll get there.
like some of the best directors are like, this is one of the 10 best films ever made and shit like that. I'm like, how? It's got like an 86. It's got like an 86 on. Maybe I'm just dumb. But
I guess I'm just like the stupidest piece of shit in the world because I did not get this movie. But I love this though. So on IMDb, they have like little keywords, that you can put like basically it's a hashtag for a movie.
Yeah.
And most movies have like 4 or 5, maybe 15, and they're all cute things like comedy, dark comedy, drama. On this one, there's 126, and the first 5 are just fucked up. Humiliation, sexual harassment, sexism, surgeon, nurse, satire. It's like, I'm like,
throw surgeon right in there,
Yeah,
right in between humiliation and sexual harassment.
Female frontal nudity, baby. That's what you need. Hey, there was no female frontal nudity. There was a naked woman that gets fucking
you get some
humiliated.
boobs, and you see a nude woman in a wide shot for a little bit. That it is covering herself in shame.
Do you want to know?
Porky's in the army.
Oh my god, dude, and it's like even more embarrassing when you think about like the context. Like she was like crying. She totally she didn't want to do that scene. Period. And they were like, "You will do it. You will dance for us, monkey." And then know what they did? Do you know what they did in solidarity? I guess I got to get this out of here first. It'll be hot.
This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. That's Jordan the hot. He's hot. We're hot.
I have no shirt on.
We're
so hot.
We're hot. We're geared up. You know what I mean? It's like we say this is going to be a short one because we both are not huge fans, but like it may be. I don't know because we're going to be fighting the.
I would love.
We are in the minority.
Yeah, really though. Well, kind of not really.
I mean, not these days. It just hasn't. I don't know. Everyone loved it back then, and now they're like, "Ooh, why did we love that so much?" I guess. But
well, and even like the 2006 interview I watched, everyone was just like, "He's a visionary. He's smart. He was ahead of his time." And I'm like, "No, no, no." But anyways, I just wanted to say real quick, she didn't want to do that scene. She didn't want to be nude, but you're making a movie. Everyone's like, you have that peer pressure. Whatever, sure. You're gonna be nude.
I'll be nude.
But
Jordan's nude right now. If you're on the YouTube,
you know how they? I know. Yeah, you come watch it.
This is gonna get demonetized. Just kidding. None of them are monetized anyway. So fuck it.
You can see my beautiful chest. But anyways, she didn't want to do the scene, and they coaxed her to do it. And then when they dropped it to get her actual surprise and to get like a genuine response from her, they took their pants off and wiggled their wieners around in front of her when they got that shot.
It was a different time.
It's like a different time. It's like that is literally he like fucking the Robert Altman, Bob Altman.
I know.
He loved it. He's like, oh, we were visionaries. Sexually harassing somebody? It's not a visionary. You were doing exactly what people were doing then, I guess.
I know.
So sure, yeah.
Well, it's crazy because it's like
run of the mill.
Robert Altman, right? So the only movie of his I've seen is The Long Goodbye, which is pretty good. I don't remember it much, but I know he's done. Looking at his shit, he's done The Player, which I want to see. He's done Nashville, which I've heard is a masterpiece and I want to see. Gosford Park,
right?
He is known to be like a great filmmaker of the era, especially. But this being our first, I don't know if it's like not our introduction necessarily, but kind of that. It's just like, is it? How? How are you guys visionaries? I guess because it's like.
I got it. Watching the interviews,
I get it. I don't know.
It did click though. No, because I totally agree with you. Like watching this movie, look at this. I understand you come to find sexism. You come to find all the isms, and you come to find all those funny hashtags on my IMDb, the sexual harassment, everything. It's like, sure, you come to find that in a generation, bygone era, people would just, it's kind of just like par for the course. That was like everyone was doing it, and so it kind of, you know, it seems shocking to us and our sensibilities.
Well, and that's what like stood for comedy back then.
Sure, right, of course, like just shenanigans, hurting people.
But like, look at one of the greatest comedies of all time and a satire is Dr. Strangelove, and it's like,
right, and that came before this.
It's got sprinkles of like the kind of misogynist stuff, but it's making fun of it. I don't know.
Right.
This one wants to have its cake and eat it too. Like it revels. It's like, no, it's a satire, but then it revels in what it's trying to satirize, and I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. I don't know.
No, I was really like racking my brain about it, and it's because they're antagonistic. They're bullies the entire time.
Are insufferable assholes.
There's nothing redeeming. There's no redeeming quality about them.
Mildly amusing at best.
I mean,
and that's like just Hawkeye. Like just Hawkeye is like, sure. And it's because I like Donald Sutherland sort of. But his character is trash. But he's not as bad as the other rapists. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, which is funny because I'm like, I liked Elliot Gould, who played Trapper or whatever, who played the guy with the mustache.
It's because he had the sickest mustache. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
mustache was,
I'm going to start carrying around a jar of olives.
I know,
just because it's great.
Like his introduction as a character, I was like, okay, this is like, it's kind of weird. It's like, it's not even funny. It's just like, okay, that was quote unquote interesting.
It's
how he
quirky, and it's like, he has the same sensibilities. He's part of the team now. Like, and then he becomes like a major character, more so than Duke. Anyway, hold on. Hold on. Take a breath.
I just gotta I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin. My thoughts. I had my thoughts.
So we're talking about MASH.
So this is MASH is a goddamn movie.
MASH
before
the
TV show. Before the most critically acclaimed television show ever made. This was a film, and so I'll give you a quick little rundown.
And then there was a book apparently before that even.
Right, and apparently the book was a lot more like
the book makes sense. It's like semi-autobiographical. It makes sense.
Right. And it's like it's satirical, but it's like satirical like Full Metal Jacket is satirical. It's true like war as hell.
We'll get into it, but it's like that's like the people who really say this claim for this movie is like, oh, it's the juxtaposition between the brutality of war and like what you need to do to try and forget that, and it's like there's not enough of that in this movie to really justify it. But I can see the book pulling that off really well. And the show, even though we'll get into it, but I watched a little bit of the show after the movie. And it does work way better as a show, but it's like too clean. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like CBS, and they're like
something I did. That's something I did like about this movie is I liked that it had. Yeah, it's like
that's like the one thing I liked. It's
raw. It got like a hard R rating at the time, like an X rating essentially. But anyways, this movie it had some production issues, and it's kind of if it was a better film, it would be more charming. Like this was just kind of a run and gun, super independent, low budget. Robert Altman, like this is like his first like true project that he got to take on. And during the production of this movie, there were two other films, two of the biggest like war films ever made, Tora 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 and Patton. They were both being filmed at Fox during the time. And so he got to sneak on the back lot and shoot his movies during that.
Makes fucking perfect sense. I was making that joke. I was watching this with my brother, and I was like, this is literally like a film crew got to like use a fucking set for a week, and we're like, all right, boys, and they shot 200 hours worth of footage, and then they shoved it into the hands of some poor editor, and they're like, cut it down to 2 hours, and they're like, fuck.
No. You are 100% correct.
That's amazing.
It is literally but this is the thing. It's like I wish because the behind the scenes, it's actually like Robert Altman, he got to just go, and it's run and gun, and it was actually like really revolutionary for the time because all of it was like 13 out of the 25 main characters, they are unknowns. They're introduced. This is their first feature. which is crazy because then they all became, you know, semi-famous and actually had, you know, careers after this.
Yeah.
So like that's cool. That's one positive for the plethora of negatives for this film.
Yeah, because at this point it was like Donald
they did was
Sutherland
shoot.
wasn't hurt, and then what? The big name was probably Robert Duvall, right? Like he was kind of, even then he wasn't like as known as he would become, because I was like,
No,
I was sad he wasn't in it more, honestly, because I'm like, I kind of like
I
Robert
know,
Duvall.
and
And he was
character they
always
gave him
old. He was always
weird.
old. I don't
You know,
understand.
he was always old.
It's 1970
I know,
and he still looks like 55.
He does, yeah. But anyways, okay, so it just had some production issues. It's, I don't know, man. It is just that.
But it's blatant.
Super,
I don't know. Like you didn't you didn't have to tell me
Right.
that to know.
No.
Because
Right.
this
it
movie
shows.
is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And
literally hours of footage that's just cobbled together. He didn't want to write conflict, so he filmed characters, and then literally the only way this movie was stitched together is shooting the fucking bullhorn, the like radio, the PA thing,
which is honestly my favorite part of the movie.
Me too.
Is the
Yeah, that has the
announcer
best
always
dialogue.
fumbling it.
Well, and the
great.
cool thing is that's actual real live Korean War logs.
Oh,
So
really?
Every
He's just
single thing
like
they
just
say
some kid reading it and like
is true.
fucking it up.
Yeah, it's true. It's actually true, real live logs that have been
Cool.
recorded or written down, and then
like
they
that.
recorded in post. But, anyways, so
It's
those
the
are
glue
kind of
holding it
the
together.
things. Right? Oh my god, yeah, and holding it together. This was one of the most boring movies I've ever watched in my entire life. But we can get there in a minute. I didn't do a synopsis. I don't really feel
Okay,
guilty
thank God. I
for that.
didn't know it was your week or my week, but it's like
Yeah.
you know, MASH. It takes place at a fucking in Korea at an army hospital, and it's just the shenanigans of all these surgeons and nurses at the hospital.
Hawkeye, Trapper, and Duke. They're the three main bros that hang out, and they are the head shenanigans because they're the hotshot surgeons that can pretty much fix anybody, and that's kind of their thing, you know. And they've got such cutting wit and such dry gin that they're cool bros. They're gonna hang out, and then you have Hot Lips Houlihan, who is the female sex puppet during this whole entire movie.
Basically,
who just gets berated.
the first
She's like the
so her change, dude. Like the first third of the movie, they're like she's like this hardcore. They call her the quote unquote army clown, which, you know, if they would have went that route where they're just like, because they're a couple drafted guys and they're like, you're one of those fucks that's just like, oh, you know, everything's got to be regulation and it's fucking like get up off your ass, and they talk shit about, you know, the super religious guy who's the same, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but then it becomes a farce. And then he gets taken away in a straitjacket, and then they don't know what to do with her, and I thought she was gone. And then she just shows up again, and she's just basically like the mindless, dumb idiot that they are just like, oh, Hot Lips, show us your titties, and they're like, she's like, oh, you grab her, and then I don't know, and then it's a football movie.
and then she does fuck Duke. She fucks one of them.
Yeah.
And then that's how like it's like, oh, finally they scored with her, and so now she's just trash and she can be stupid as fuck. And they were like, cool, she's a dumb bimbo, and it's fantastic for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's pure, the height of pure comedy there, fellers.
Dude, this movie, but I can't. Oh my god. Okay, so this movie, if you watched 3 minutes, because so in the documentary that I watched, it's like 50 minutes, and there's about maybe 6 minutes of movie edited in, and it makes this seem coherent and competent and actually satirical and somewhat like
it's a
good,
6 minute
intelligent
condensed Cliff
Yeah.
Notes version that you're
It's
like,
all
wow,
it's literally
that's the pitch for the TV show.
No, dude, 100%, because that's something I wish I had more time to truly get into how this film transitioned into a TV series, and I would imagine that it's weird. I don't know how, because Robert Altman, he put his foot down and he said no.
Yeah,
he didn't want this to be
I
a
saw
TV
that
show.
that he was like like really against it, and he's like, it goes against everything that the novel and my film was supposed to be about.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
he thought it was like watered down, which I'm like, sure, I understand, but if you watching this movie, I'm like, it sucks because there is high quality, entertaining films from the '60s, and this is so boring. It's shot
boring.
in the most dull, boring way. So we were watching it, and I'm like, God, this is a slog, and there's no character.
It's because
nothing's
there's
happening.
no development. There's no. Every time you think there's gonna be plot, like I remember being like, "Oh, okay, now there's a plot." Robert Duvall and this Houlihan, like they're gonna try and foil these guys, and it's the classic blah 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 blah, and that becomes like a mini subplot, which this film is full of. And so I feel like that's why the whole time I was like, oh, it makes sense that this became a TV show. Because if I was an executive watching this, I'd be like, this is incoherent garbage. This is like 15 different things, stories shoved together. It's basically just a random assortment of scenes with funny characters, quote unquote. That's a TV show. Take the characters, boom, scenes. Like you make a whole entire scene this, and there it is. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's the setting and the characters. There is no plot, which is fine. You don't have to have a plot, but it's just like when the characters are so unlikable, the editing is so fucking garbled, the audio design is so trash that it's just
terrible,
like it's hard to, as like a viewer, to like grasp onto anything. You know what I mean? To be like get invested. Like I was just like, I had a lot of fun because I was watching with my brother. I had a lot of fun, like, laughing at it and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is happening? You know what I mean? It's like, and so it was enjoyable, and it did have a chaotic charm, but that only goes so far, man. Like, it's just like, by 45 minutes, I was like, holy shit, there's an hour and change left of this?
At 55. I paused it at 55 to be like, okay, there's got to be like 10 minutes left, right? There's got to be.
Well, dude,
and then it was there literally another 55 minutes.
The straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, sure. Like, this probably would have been, I gave it a 1.5 star on Letterboxd. I probably would have gave it maybe a 2.5, because I was kind of enjoying myself. It was dumb, but I was like, whatever. Probably a 2. But the last 40 minutes are just becomes a completely different movie about football that's like literally doesn't even try to hide the fact it's basically just shot in California. Like, this isn't Korea. It never was. It was always the 70s. It never felt like the 50s. But that's when I was just like, what the fuck is happening now? Spear chucker? Are you kidding me? Like,
I know.
I was just like,
dude,
I'm out. I'm done.
like,
I'm out.
No, it fucking, like, Altman has the fucking gall to say he wasn't being racist during this movie. No, and I'm just like,
they add the line like, it's because I used to throw javelins. I said, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, there was it's like, all the isms wrapped up into one, which it's so okay. So it's like I'm gonna try to like remove myself from today's context, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier. Remove myself from all of that and just boil it down to the characters in the movie I'm watching in front of me.
Yeah,
it's slow and dull. There's no character to like the two main guys like Hawkeye and Trapper. Those like. You follow their exploits the most, and that last like before the football scene, that like 15 minutes when they go to like Japan's hospital or something.
Yeah,
it's very confusing because there's a lot of Korean erasure in this. Like they do not like the fact that it's Korean War. It's like I'm pretty sure that because I know that Robert Altman served in the war. And World War II, I think, or something, the end of World War II, or during Korean War. And he, like, there's a lot of tension and racism wrapped up into that because he, like, it's like he was, like, really derogatory to Korean people and used a lot, and then, like, was kind of satirical but really offensive to Japanese people in this movie.
Yeah, it was
so.
The only racial thing that was even remotely funny, like, is, like, they kept, when they went to Japan, every scene had like a gong noise right at the beginning. And I was like cracking up, but I'm just like, why? That's so stupid.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's excessive to the point where I'm like, I'm rolling my eyes. We're like, okay, you tried to get away with it once, and now it's not. You're not like we're like now, because I have to like compare it to things that are present, and it's like South Park. They've gone overboard. South Park is offensive, like period. But I think
it's okay to be offensive in comedy.
I mean? Yeah, exactly.
But totally. Like, what are you trying to say?
It's weird.
And if you're not being funny,
it has to be good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
but no,
like the gong's kind of funny, but it's just like yelling for like the fifth time that like I'm gonna ravage you, woman. Like, that's not funny. I don't know, and it's not charming.
That's what I mean.
And it's like
there's one little detail that I thought was super cute, and it was like, oh, that's a fun little detail. I liked when the one captain was making his flies, the fisherman, and then he's doing it with the nurse, and he's like clamps, to build them, and he's like scissors, and she's like helping him just like they would in a procedure, and I'm like, see, that's a cute
I wanted
idea,
more,
a little bit of world building, but like then there's nothing, dude. It's like when they're even the thing, like my most like praised thing about this film, because it's like, to shit on this movie, it's pretty easy, but the things that I really structurally liked is how I think we've gotten a lot better with it now presently, but like the talking over each other and that kind of like, it felt so real. And when they're in the operating rooms, I really loved their dialogue. And
those are the best, kind of the best parts, man. Like,
it's 100%. Like, but then it's like, but it would be like 30 seconds of that procedure.
I want more
and then
of
it's
that.
done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't care if you want to fuck this woman. Like, just show me like actual.
The operations and the quote unquote war stuff was like less than 10% of this movie. It was like 5% of this movie. Had it taken up like a 30%, like I think it would have been way more impactful and would have been the movie in my eyes that everyone supposedly thinks it is, which is this deep allegory for the horrors of war and everything.
You were the one, dude. You commented this where you said that they accidentally stumbled into it, and somebody said, some critic was like, "Look at how altruistic and like how
it feels to me.
Powerful it was." And Robert Altman went, "Yeah,
exactly." What is he gonna say?
He's just like, I was just having off in the edit bay, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's smart." It should do that, yeah. It should stop harassing these women.
It's there, you know what I mean? That theme is there because I'm sure. I mean, I haven't read the book, obviously, but I'm sure that is the core of the book, and so it's like it's there, but it's not the core of the film. Not even close. It's
not the core of the creator either.
No, it's like it's like the fourth thing that'd be like, oh, also there's a war. Like I feel like it's almost like obligatory. Like they have to be like. Okay, add the scene where the helicopter comes in and they bring someone, and we have to remind the audience, I'm sorry, everybody, that these guys are actually hotshot surgeons, and they are dealing with men's lives, which you never get a single interaction with a patient. You never get, they're just corpses. They're just there as a prop. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. So that's why I'm like, I see how this can work better, much better as a television show, because it's like, it gives room for A, those themes, but B, and maybe even more importantly, the characters to grow, which is the only interesting thing about this movie. And can you tell me the first thing about Hawkeye? Like his personal life and his like beliefs? No.
He's a raging alcoholic that would
he loves booze and he wears glasses.
He whistles. He does that whistle.
Yeah.
And that was a quirk where it made me feel disgusted because I was like, oh man, it kind of reminds me of Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is like the greatest movie ever made. And then
I was trying to
he whistled and I was like, ooh, no, like why? Like why do so many people pull from this movie? You know what it is? It isn't this movie. Not a single human being in the world after 1972 knows that this is a film, and Robert Altman's salty as fuck about it, and it's hilarious.
Because everyone, you say MASH.
I dribble on his little tears, man. I'm just nibbling them, and I love to lap up his little fucking pathetic tears that he complains. And I watched 2 interviews with him, one documentary and then an interview, and both he complained permanently about how overshadowed it was that his beautiful creativity and his mind that came through it opened the gates, and he didn't want anyone to grab this from him. And I'm just like, dude, you had a 1-star movie.
This was it was half finished, half assed on its own, and they just kind of like the studios did what studios do, and it's like had anyone. This is the one of the and like. So we talked about last episode, kind of bringing like my point, like. So last episode where we did the French Connection, we were talking about how the 70s really kind of became the time when things started becoming like breaking from the mold. You know what I mean? And how there's not like a clear 3-act structure a lot of the time. It's very much run and gun. And like French Connection, this movie makes French Connection look like the best film ever made. But it's like, and so I get that from this era, but this is the type of movie that someone should have stepped in. One of the times a studio executive should have been like, hey, let's fucking clean this shit up and make this palpable. And that's what they did with the show. But they kind of went too far with it, in my opinion. I haven't seen that much of the show, but what I have seen, it's like better, but it's also really sterile, so it loses something. But like at the same time, it's like, wow, I can actually watch this and have it not be nonsense and have it actually have a story and actually have character development. And it's like, so no wonder the movie got overlooked compared to the show. Like the show went on for over a decade, and yeah, is like still to this day, the finale is the most watched TV show, most watched episode of any television show of all time. To this day,
it's like it's like one in 3 Americans watched,
which is
final.
Yeah, which is insane. That's the main thing I know about MASH, because I'm not like a big MASH guy, but going in, I knew the theme and I knew what it was, and but from the show, I knew there was a movie. But I thought the movie came after, and it wasn't until I was doing the poll, and I was like, oh, shit, MASH the movie is highly regarded. I'll put it on the poll. And then it won, obviously. So, like, everyone who voted for it, where are you on the Reddit defending it? Because it's like,
people who commented on the Reddit were like, yeah, this movie sucks.
I know. Like, they're like, I can see, they're like, I could see the popularity, but yeah, this sucks. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I don't know. I could see in 1970 being like, this is a breath of fresh air. I can see that.
Sure. Well, then that's the whole thing. I wanted it. Yeah, I'm giving it my praise. It is like, it's like I said, these unknowns, they got together and then they got to like create something.
It's cool.
Like, it's like
that's cool. It looks.
Yeah,
it sounds fun. If I was a fucking frat boy douchebag, I would have loved to work on this movie.
Right. Exactly. It's like if I lived the like that like overt machoism that exists with this. Like, because it's almost like, I mean, to use the term toxic masculinity, it doesn't really fit that mold, like, directly. It's just kind of like, it is frat boy, like, it's just,
this
these
is like
guys
the
are like
seeds,
sorority
the
style.
seeds
They're
of
just
that,
just going around being catty and bitchy and then, laughing about it and then just fucking pouring pig's blood on Carrie and, like, thinking it was cool.
This
like,
definitely is like, more like, it's like, not necessarily the toxic masculinity, but it is the start of the like, oh, boys will be boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I called it locker room talk. It's the locker room talk of movies, and that's even cute. That's like cuter than what it is because it's like it's kind of dangerous. Like
it's cute.
I know
and gross,
I know somebody got sexually molested on the set of this
100%.
Because they hung out they camped for a couple weeks together. While they were shooting it, and it's like I know somebody got date raped. Like, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I don't even have to like.
If there was like a perspective from the other side, like the one time, like they didn't do it. Like I think the misogyny is like one of the isms, right? Like you said, is like one of the worst things.
It's
like
the strongest one.
At least with the racism, there was the one scene where Duke is being a full blown racist, and they just are like, "Fuck you," and they shove him over. But even then, it's just like, "You goofball." He's like, I don't want to. You really want to bring a black guy into here? I don't want to have him in my tent. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. We need him to win football, obviously.
Right. Black people are cool when they're utilized as a tool
to win.
For our entertainment. Yeah, that's what they rock.
Yeah.
And then he showed up, and they all went, look at him. He's so big and black. We love him.
He
I'm
is.
just like the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this is embarrassing. The people who defend this movie, I'm embarrassed for you.
I don't know.
That's
the thing. It's like it's not.
But anyways, yeah.
I don't know. It's not like, again, all the like politicizing and the dating, like even at its core, just looking at it objectively, it's not well made. Like it's. Right. I don't know, like I was really trying to struggle for the first little while because I did like the talking over one of another, but I was like, okay, how much of this is intentional and how much of this is just lazy? Because I couldn't tell. Like sometimes it was intentional, and then a lot of times I feel like they were just like, let's just put the audio from this clip of like 10 guys talking over each other, just like so much, and I'm like, it works sometimes, but sometimes it just feels like cobbled together, and then like the very, like the audio. I was listening to it with my headphones because my kids were sleeping and everything, and so it's like
that's a better way to watch it, honestly.
The cuts
Just
between just like one person's shot and then another person's shot, like the audio was just like not mixed good. I feel bad for the poor editor trying to make this coherent, because it does feel like they're just like, man, I don't know, like let's just do this, and then I don't know. Like I said, it's like it would have been okay because it's got a vibe. It's it's got this this vibe, this 1970. I mean, may as well be Vietnam. It feels like Vietnam. It doesn't feel like Korea because they all look like they just didn't give a fuck.
It's weird. It's weird. It is like the template of the army base, and like everybody's like I don't know, because in the Korean War nobody wanted to be there. They were exhausted after World War II.
Yeah.
But like they still had more pride, and where this is like that Vietnam where like everyone was drafted and they were like done.
That's what it feels like. They look, even the mustaches are like, that's 1969. Nobody in 1950 looked like that. That's a young dude from 1969 shows
and
up.
The football too wasn't really huge in the 50s. It's like
that's when it just was starting. Right,
exactly. So it's just kind of like, and I was actually, it's funny when they were saying football, I didn't know if they meant soccer or if they meant American football until and
then you really got a lesson in that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Dude, okay, can we talk about, I don't know where they should have gone. In my comment, I said that the football scene derailed all of the main thesis.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Like, I was just like, are you fucking kidding? Like, that's when I became like amused to annoyed. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's when I couldn't roll my eyes anymore, and I had to I was actively hating this movie. And it's just it's I've seen Adam Sandler's The Longest Yard. That's fine. I've seen I guess Adam Sandler has done some more football ones. He did that a Waterboy one too. But anyways, it's I've seen some sports movies that are fine. But it's when you just shoehorn in a sports film and it loses literally all the momentum and loses everything that it was holding it together, period. I'm like, no thanks.
That is the biggest part of the movie, probably. The biggest end-to-end plot line. Because you can think about major plot lines. There's there's the Frank and the Houlihan stuff.
Suicide.
There's the suicide stuff. Which suicide is badass.
Japan to save
there's Japan
to save the general guy, the shrapnel or whatever.
The fucking congressman's son or whatever.
Yeah.
And but then there's the football stuff, which takes up way more time than any of that other stuff. This is a sports movie. It's more than a war movie.
Well, that is literally how I explain it. It's just I'm if you like football,
it's the fucking how war is such a fucking they have to use. No, you don't get it, Jordan. You're just too dumb. Football is an allegory for what you need to get away from the horrors of war.
It's true.
Which is it's just I don't know. People, I don't know that perspective annoys me. It annoys me.
Yeah. It annoys me so much.
It's just
it
feels like
it is. You liked laughing. You just liked laughing at the offensiveness. That's fine. That's what that exists. It's I love Tropic Thunder. I don't love Tropic Thunder because I think it's super genius. I don't think it's super smart. I like its satirical nature, and I like that the characters are the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And that's where we have come, we've grown as a society.
That's where it is.
They're not
even those characters
anymore.
had more character development though, you know what I mean? Even though they are the joke.
Right. Yeah.
But it's
but still.
I don't know. That whole argument, there is that in this movie, but it's just so overwashed. I wish, give me more of the operating room. Give me one interaction with an actual patient that that affects a character that give me a scene where Hawkeye's operating on a guy and the guy's just asking for his mom and is dies in his arms, and then in the next scene he's just getting hammered and being an asshole. That makes more sense. That is the point. And I feel like you're trying to make, but you're ignoring because it's too fun to be look at her boobs. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and then I think they make the point as simple as possible, and that is where it's just visuals. You're just supposed to see the blood, and then that is supposed to be the key to the audience that this is really hard. and the seriousness, even though there'll be some sarcastic, they have some like witty, back and forth during the surgeries, but it's like typically pretty procedural, and I think that is supposed to be the juxtaposition, but it's so subtle, and then there's too much goofiness during the surgeries that like it loses all momentum, and it gets washed out in its point. You know what? That's fine. This movie did what it did, and I can see why you like this. This is definitely a movie where I'm like, if this is your favorite movie, then you need to watch more movies.
Watch Tropic Thunder because it does do
side.
sort of the same thing, but way better.
Well, and what I was hoping is that like I would watch this and then have my initial opinion and then sleep on it and then kind of come to the understanding and get other people's perspectives, because when we watched Seven Brides for Seven Sisters, I had that same initial reaction where I was just like, holy shit, this is like offensive and stupid, and like it's like it is kind of another thing where it's
don't
like,
go listen to that episode. That's
the
first
don't.
episode.
That's like, is it our very first?
The
we did
first
a
one,
two-parter, right?
Yeah, that and
Which
Eternal
was it, like,
Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah.
It's Eternal Sunshine, the Spotless Mind, and
Seven-
don't
yeah.
listen to that episode.
That's
Maybe
the
we'll do
first
that.
episode.
Maybe we'll redo it because
I don't
want to
rusty.
But
I don't want to watch that movie again.
I don't even want to listen to it. But anyways, so we did watch that film, and I remember being like, wow, this is like, I thought I just was like tearing it down.
Wow, this is
and then,
dated as
and then later, right, dated as fuck. But then somebody later said like, oh no, like this is where it's true satire, and this is how like they were making it, they were selling it to an audience to be this machoism that exists, but it's like, it's supposed to be this instead. And so I kind of was like, okay, I have a better perspective now, and that's cool. I still think just like face value, it's fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean,
it's a musical.
satire is hard, and
It's
satire is
kinda-
gonna be. It's always gonna be one of those things that like a lot of people don't understand. But also, if like us talking shit on it, there's definitely someone out there being like, "Well, you just don't understand the satire," and so it's just like it's kind of it's such a nuanced thing
though.
that I get where they're coming from in this,
Yeah.
and there is some satire. Don't get me wrong, but it is lost in the I don't know, like the
I mean, it's lost. It's lost in the production a lot of the time too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there are a lot of like sight gags that happen that like we've had 50 years of comedy to build upon. So like a joke, like setting up a joke or something, like Arrested Development or something, like they'll build a joke for like 6 episodes or 2 seasons. They build a joke and it's still like memorable and you can retain it, and then it like the punchline hits hard and it's so funny. Where this, I feel like they would set up a sight gag like the Jeep driving around, and dude, my one thing, the one joke that they didn't do that I was like, wow, it's a missed opportunity, and that's to me where I'm like, this movie was shot like a home movie. Like it was like a film that he just made with his friends, and they went and shot it, and it was like they were just like they were like every night they were like doing the pages, because the writer, he wrote the script, and he was like frustrated because they would tear it apart at night and then just do all their own scenes, and they would never shoot what was written. And he's like
feels
don't
like
do that, because
it feels like
yeah
that.
Right. But anyways, it's like shit, I lost my train of thought. That always happens. But
well, no, the
anyways,
one
it's
gag, the missed opportunity.
Oh, the one, my God. The missed opportunity is when they're all sitting around, and see, this is one thing I liked about the show, is they would do a serious surgery, and then it would cut to like hours later or the next day. Like it was, it definitely like, it didn't, and that like, it worked, because it's like, okay, you realized they were just in surgery, now they're done, and then they're reflecting on it, and they've like done something else to blow off steam. But it's like they're having that conversation by the helicopter, and like they're talking about like liking blondes and brunettes and dark-haired women, and he's like, oh, I'm partial to blondes, and they're like, oh, how about Hot Lips Houlihan? Do you think she's a real blonde? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Let me go find out. And so later,
Yeah.
like 5 scenes later, he fucks Houlihan in the tent. They come to the swamp or whatever, and they're like, hey, let us in. And then he's like sneaking her out, and like she runs away, and then he laughs, and the scene cuts. And I'm like, we didn't even get him, like, where's the like, she's natural or some fucking dumbass shit like
Anything,
that.
right?
Where was our joke? You didn't pay off your joke. So I know that you were just writing this off the seat of your pants, and it was dumb as fuck.
They're just
and
like,
there's,
wouldn't it
no
be
forethought.
funny? Wouldn't it be
It's fine.
funny if like he banged her and then she's sneaking out the back, and it's like a fucking
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like this movie, like, it felt like it could have been like good, and that's what bums me out, is because it could have been a good biting satire that's funny, that also has these elements and stuff. But I felt like it was too concerned with being like a fucking like Three Stooges sketch sometimes. Like sometimes there's like, oh, they're talking and they're like ripping on this religious guy, and I'm like, oh, that's raw and all this, and then I'm like, oh, okay, these two, I thought gonna become the antagonists, because there's no, like, obviously the war doesn't matter at this point. Yeah, and so I'm like, Frank and the Houlihan are like, we're gonna become these antagonists, trying to shut him down and send him that letter. But then they're just like, I'm insatiable for you. And then it's just like this big goofy joke. And it's like, it's got scenes, which one scene actually made me laugh, which is so dumb, when they're all spying on the dentist taking a shower, and there's like a line, like, and I'm like, oh, what? It's like, this is Porky's in the army, but there's like a line around the corner to see this dentist's dick, and they're like, he's got the biggest dick, and then he's talking about how he's like, some guy in autopsy had like the biggest dick, and then the one guy walks out from seeing the dentist, he's like, I'd like to see that angry, you know what I mean, all this, and I'm just like, what is happening? What is this scene? Yeah. Like, I was laughing, but I'm like, I don't know, what is the point of this? I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Dude, I can't even. It's like, the thing is, I just keep thinking of, like, I mean, yeah, sure. It's like, that's the thing. There are certain things where I'm like, okay, a joke is happening. Like when Houlihan goes and complains to the general, and he's got a woman in his bed.
It's like, that cut was funny. That's a funny
cut is funny. It's funny because it cuts to him,
because he's just complaining about one of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, okay, that's satire. Yeah. That is a perfect joke. But then it's so rude. Like, it's weird. It's rude, not in a fun way. It's just totally like, this dumb whore, you know how they get. You know how women get. If they're not easy, then they're the worst.
And they literally like, she's a bitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it's
right.
Because she won't show us her tits
anymore.
And everything, and it's
right. Yeah, it's like not. It's not funny because,
well, that's the whole
like,
thing.
Sure.
They are not the men that are like the main characters, and are like, you're supposed to be like laughing at their despicable antics. They're so unlikable, every single one of them. And it's just like, you're supposed to be laughing at them, but you're not, because the film really feels, and this is like its biggest shortcoming, I think, is it really aligns with them and makes it feel like the film is trying to, like, it's not trying to like justify them. It feels like it is their vehicle. And so it's hard to separate what the filmmakers are trying to say from what the characters are trying to say, which is this fucking frat boy, raunchy, like, just like oversexed, fucking just drunk, fun party time. But then that's your movie, and it doesn't really work. I don't know.
Right. It is. Yeah. It is just like, it feels like there's 100 hours.
It doesn't have an objective or like a stance as a film. It's just like, look at these characters. Don't you wish that was your best friend? I don't know. Like,
right. Kind of. Right. Yeah. That is like, it's where it glorifies it, and then there's no. It's just like, it's where, I don't know. I guess that is. It's, people are just gonna say that we didn't get it, and then that's there you go.
That's fine. Or we're too woke and progressive, and it's 2023, and you just don't know how to have fun anymore. But I'm just like,
I know. Yeah.
And, like,
if I can't get her drunk, then what's the point?
There's some comedy here, man. But like, it's wasted. It's wasted on the full package, because the full package is objectively a fucking mess. But it's like, there's a nugget there to be mined, which was not mined for the greatest television, greatest television show of all time. Right. I can't say that because I've only watched like 2 episodes, but
right, same. But it's definitely just one of those shows that, like, it's critically acclaimed, so we know that. So
well,
it's like,
I know the vibe, and it's like, so after watching this movie, I went and watched the first 2 episodes of the show just to kind of, I was curious.
Pilots?
Yeah, I watched the pilot and then the following episode because I was curious how it'd stand up, and it's like, it's close in a lot of ways, but it definitely feels like more contained. It's shot much more like traditionally. It's edited more traditionally. But it's like, and they still got some of their raunchy jokes where it's like, oh, they're the boys and the gals are messing around, and but there's a scene at the end of the pilot where the general comes. They call the general instead of sending him a letter, and it's the same guy from the movie the general
Okay.
at the end that does the opposite football team. He's in the show, and he comes to come like court-martial them, and they're like, God damn it, you can court-martial me after I finish saving this man's life. And then they do the surgery, and the general comes out, and it's like, basically, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but he basically grabs the captain or whatever with the fly fishing hat that's like in charge of the unit. He basically grabs him by the face and is like, these men are the greatest surgeons that ever lived. Do not ever let them go. Even if it's me, they are the best. So any shenanigans they do is totally okay for the next 12 seasons. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And it's just like, so I'm like, okay, sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
And that's kind of like, I wish that's how this movie was set up.
Split the difference.
Like, I wish that the first act was like, oh, they just proved themselves by doing something good. And, like, they performed surgery and they came together, and despite their differences, they operated well. Instead of just getting in a fight and then they
don't
kind of
have
sloppy,
also in
and
the
then it's
show. Also in the show, fucking like everyone, fucking Hawkeye and them, they're assholes and drunks, but they have a heart of gold in the show. Right. From what I watched, like they're doing all this dumb stuff and these shenanigans, but they're doing it for like kind of a good purpose. Where in the movie, like that's how they want you to feel. I feel like that was what would maybe be in the book, but like in the movie, it's just like they don't give a fuck about saving this person's life. It's all about being the best, being arrogant, and being able to do whatever you want, and drugging multiple of your commanders. Like they drugged like 3 of their bosses. This guy's a general, right? And he's like, "I'm not gonna let you walk over me." And they just like, and they put him with a prostitute.
Yeah, I love how they gas him, and then it's just like what the hell? And dude, I mean, it's like, for just a second too, I thought like, hey, this is gonna be like, this movie will like actually be elevated and talk about like mental health. But then when like the friend is just like, I'm gay, I'm a latent homosexual, it's like I was like, oh my god, okay, that sequence to me was like, if I had to pick my favorite part, it's that whole sequence, because I thought, hey, this is actually going to do something, and
well, it's
then
going to come around to something, you know, and then
it doesn't come around to anything. I mean, and it's just like, it's offensive. It's like one of those things where I'm like,
he's like,
everything
oh,
in this is like
he's a fairy, and then like they're like, all you need is a woman, and so he basically just is like, hey, we drugged this guy. You better suck his dick. Yeah,
that is where it loses it.
All he needs is a good woman to fuck him, and then she does, and it's fine.
Well, and it's not even that. That would make sense if the woman wanted to fuck him, but the fact that she wanted to fuck him, the dude, and he went, no, here, you got to go in here because we gave him a Viagra, and now his dick is rock solid, and you can rub on that little pogo stick all day, and I'm like, this is so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Holy fuck, I hate this movie.
I know, it's not.
Well,
anyway,
this is probably one of the worst we've watched. I don't know if it's...
I'm sad because we broke the streak.
I know.
This year, like we're in fucking August. We've watched bangers pretty much a lot of the year. Everything has been...
I'm happy I've watched this though.
No,
it really is.
Always.
Because now I feel so seated in my opinion about this, and MASH has never come up for me in a conversation in my life, but now if it ever does, I can go,
it has in this right now, buddy. We're in a conversation, a big one.
That's true. Yeah, we are.
But we have
actually made it 49 minutes, so my body's wrong. But can we move on? Or
I was gonna pull up a Reddit or so like that, but
Please,
it's like
Reddit. I'll give you a money minute too.
I'm glad I watched it too, because it's like, even though it's a bad movie, I think it objectively, and like, but I got something from it. You know what I mean? It's like I learned my knowledge of movies. It's like, you know, I don't claim to know all, but it's like it's good to see every once in a while something bad to be like, this is why it's bad. You know what I mean? And
I mean, it's cool that it raged against Hollywood and it worked.
Yeah,
because that is something I appreciate.
It's got a vibe.
It led way to like great movies from the 70s. So it's I
might keep watching the show, honestly, because it's like, it's not very good. I mean, it's okay, but it's cozy enough, and it's like, I'm interested to see how they develop the characters, if at all. Because I mean, I don't know, it's a sitcom basically, so we'll see. But but I don't know, it just makes more sense in that setting. So
I like her. like Hot Lips Houlihan. I like how she got her nickname. That would be fun if anyone was like, if it wasn't super derogatory and used against her so much. But that's like, I'm like, that's a fun, that's like a good
her
joke.
outrage at being objectified is constantly the joke.
Yeah,
and
it's like, no, that like makes me like cringe. It makes me embarrassed.
I don't want to root for that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And maybe
I
that's
know.
woke. I don't know.
Call me. I would love. You could call me woke. You can. I'm not trying to stop you from marrying your gun. I want you to do whatever you want out there. I just don't date rape these women. Please.
Women are meant to be objects. That's the official stance of this podcast.
Smash. Oh yeah.
No, just
Dude,
kidding. We love women.
Can I say a real quick money minute?
Yeah,
Just because
give it to me.
I will answer all your questions right here. Why this movie succeeded and gave old Bobby
made a buttload of money. Yeah,
made a fuck ton of money, dude. He made it for $3 million, and he came under like $1 million, under budget. And I don't know how he got the budget for this too, because it went through so much fucking production shit. But anyways, he got his little small budget, and it was because Tora 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 and Patton were in theaters, and they were two huge war productions.
everyone had the taste for it.
Wanted war. Yeah. They wanted to go see war, so they were like, "Well, fuck, let's go see this."
War to blow off steam too. You know what I meit. It's like those movies are heavy. This movie is like
right.
Oh
yeah, right. And it's one of those like. I get it. It is like that. It's that hard R film that you're kind of like, shit, did you see that movie? And it's like, kid, like you could be like 22 and you're like, fuck, I gotta like see this crazy like hard R film after seeing like Patton, this like complete, it's like all like Patton and Tora Tora Tora. They're super like pro war films, where this is like definitely I can't call it an anti-war film. It's not Full Metal Jacket. It's not trying to show you like
forgot
the
it was
realities
a
of
war
war.
film. So
right, truthfully, yeah.
But
anyways, it
technically is, I guess.
Sure. Right. I'm calling it a sports movie for sure.
Yeah. It's a football movie. You ever seen that football movie, MASH?
If there's more football in it than war, then yeah. But anyways, it was $3 million and it grossed $41 million.
Oh so shit! In 1970, bud.
Yeah. So that means, and I'm like, I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure Patton was like $100 million or something crazy ass.
God damn.
Fucking, it made so much. Patton's huge.
I mean,
but anyway.
Everyone watching these war movies of the glory days of war, while trying to be present, ignoring the present, like the Vietnam War, which is happening at the time. But so they're like, oh, we want war, but not that war. That war is too real. We want to look back through the fucking rose-colored glasses war.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like interesting when it came out during the Vietnam War, because it's sad because there are tons of guys that are like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm signing up for the war to get all that pussy, bro. And so they went and joined, and they're like, yeah, dude, we're going to nail so many nurses. And they're like, there's no fucking women here. There's like the one specific branch that there's women nurses. You're going to the front lines and you're going to get your head blown off. And he's like, bummer,
No,
bro.
there was a lot of, that's the whole thing is like, that's like, it's hard sometimes because it's like when you make a movie this raunchy, the reality of like the constant rape that happened and when people go to war, it just like, I don't know. It's like, that's always a subtext I have. And then when I watch this, I'm like, guys, it's just so gross.
I'm just we're not joyless though, man. It's just this movie's just not that funny. Like these jokes are just not that funny.
That's kind of the thing. It's like dude, what's wild? This still for inflation is the highest grossing quote unquote comedy ever made.
Wild.
Holy fuck, dude. And The Graduate is like right behind it for like the 60. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And even the Graduate, I'm like, that's not even really that comical.
It's not that funny, but The Graduate is like laugh out loud. 1,000 times better.
But The Graduate has like that kind of like Wes Anderson charm to it.
It's got like
that's a life coming of age comedy where it's like, oh, life is comedy. Where this movie is like, no, like this movie is like punching down. Like if I want to make fun of crippled people and women, then I love this movie.
100%.
Give it to me. Give it to me, baby. If I want to make fun of black people, give it to me.
Yeah. No, punching down 100%.
Okay.
I'll give you Reddit, but I want to see more Robert Altman movies just because they are so acclaimed. I want to know, are we dumb? Are we not with the times? Because I want to see, Nashville's been on my list forever because that one is like pretty highly regarded. And I've seen The Long Goodbye, and it's like
I've heard that's awesome.
everyone says
So-
it's a comedy, but I don't remember it as a it's just a noir, which I love. But it's
Right,
like a
it's a
really
dude with his
dry
cat,
noir.
right?
But yeah, it's good. It's like
Yeah.
I want to rewatch it. Let's just do noirs again and steer
Right.
all of our people away. The few people who have come to listen to our show and join our podcast. Let's just do noirs again because we hate them.
Yeah.
Because we're the only
Oh,
people that
man.
like noirs. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I only got a couple Reddits. So the reliable Clones Are People Too says, my second watch of this, and I appreciated it more than the first watch, but didn't exactly enjoy it. The first watch confused me because while I found some parts funny, I wasn't sure what was meant to be funny or not funny. Now I realize it's all funny, not funny haha, but funny in an absurd way. These characters are so desensitized to the war that's going on around them that their day-to-day living has become completely surreal. They have regressed in this weird high school-like world of cliques and dysfunction to escape the death and violence that is being brought to them on the stretcher. I think this really needs to be viewed through the lens of America during the Vietnam War to see its anti-war message that made it so critically acclaimed. But I find it hard to believe that it spawned such a successful and loved show. I have not seen any of the show, but I have heard it's more like a typical sitcom. I think some of the more outwardly comedic scenes have aged poorly, i.e. the bowling of hot lips or the suicide scene. Overall, I think it's an important cultural film, but it doesn't do it for me. 8 out of 10 for effort, but 4 out of 10 for me. Thank you for the comment. I commented back basically what we've said already, where it's just like, I agree with that assessment in the middle about it being like, oh, they're desensitized to war. Like, I understand that was the purpose, but I feel like in execution, that didn't happen. Like, I feel like that maybe the show pulls it off better and the book pulls it off better, but the movie does not give me that impression that it's that concerned with that theme. And like I said, it does feel like a critic was like, oh God, that really impacted me. And they're like, see? Yeah.
Well, and I think there really is, if we're trying to look at it contextually, it was a deviation from these huge war epics towards Zora and Patton. So
1970, I can 100% see.
Right.
I if I would have fucking saw this in 1970, I would have been like, man, this movie's so raw and it's fresh. It's fucking punk rock, man. Before punk rock. And so I get that. I can see this being really influential, and I appreciate it
quote
for
unquote
that.
ahead of its time.
Yeah, and I
But-
could see people of the day really loving it, and even if the comedy's, dicey, but like everything about it now just feels underbaked and dated. And maybe that's just 50 years. This just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
Just does not
I mean,
hold up
it's really-
in our opinion.
And and pacing is one of my. It's like I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, we
just
can't. No, there's
pacing it's disgusting.
They
But
could
funny?
have cut
seen,
this in any order because it was just fucking random as fuck. They could have literally
was,
moved
yeah.
around almost any scene.
It could have opened with the gay scene like that. It literally
100%.
could have opened.
Football
with that.
scene could have happened right in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
it
Yep.
doesn't matter.
I kind of wish it did, honestly, because I feel
Get
like
it out of the
would
way.
have. It would have felt. Yeah, it would have
When
felt
it
like.
ended on such a sour note, man.
Like, yeah, it really did, dude. Like when the football scene happened and it ends and they start driving away in the Jeep. And I don't even remember who won because I don't give a fuck. But I paused it and I was like, oh, there's like 6 minutes left of this. It's like, that's it.
I didn't even
That's, like,
mention
wild.
my Letterboxd comment was saying the end credits were like,
Oh,
it was like derogatory, like
Yes.
the end credits are the best part, but like legitimately,
legitimately.
they just ramble. The announcer just rambles off all the cast and shows them like as fast as possible, and then it just ends. No title card, no like 20th
I
Century
loved that.
Fox, none of that. It was
That was so sick.
I like that too a lot because I mean,
Yeah.
it had its quote unquote credits at the beginning, so the end credits are just like, boom, this has been bam, 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 and then it just ends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
No,
cool.
Yeah.
do
no, I really,
more
I really
of that.
Right,
Anyway.
right, and that was good. That was energy. That was like good pacing, and it's like this is just so bad. But it's funny. I've seen Robert Altman's Popeye with Robert Williams
Oh yeah.
and Shelley Duvall.
I mean, I don't remember that enough. Other than I thought Popeye was fun as a kid
Me
because
too.
I haven't seen it
saw-
since I was
saw it
like
when I was a kid,
7 or
so-
8.
Right, same. So it's like I don't
That's
really
a good
remember.
point. Shelley, I do
Right.
look back on Shelley Duvall because I got a crush on her.
Have you seen
Not current
like,
Shelley
what-
Duvall though.
No, dude, I think I might have a big crush on current Shelley Duvall.
No, she's like a flat earther.
Are you kidding me, dude? No. Oh my god, I love her, dude. She's like she puts crystals inside her body and like
She
she's
is a broken woman.
she's broken, dude. And It is.
It's a shame.
I'm teetering now, and I'm deviating from this movie period because it's like.
I know.
Whatever.
Now we're just
Let's
talking
get
about
this
Shelley
right.
Duvall.
Anyways, I love Shelley Duvall.
We'll get
and
to
I
it.
wish nothing but
I'll
the
read
best
one
for
more
her.
Reddit, and then I got the voicemail.
And then Travis, yeah.
Oh, how are we in an hour? God damn.
So hot, dude. Why?
Turbo13 says, wow, I've never seen such a mess of a, quote, movie. I don't know what was going on or what I was even watching. From the audio to the score to the editing, it was so bad. There was a few funny parts, but only because it was so bad. Perfect way to describe it is when you see a dog so ugly it's cute. I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Not recommended. Solid 7.5.
No, dude. Solid 0.7.
Yeah, 0.7 out of 5.
7 out of 5. Not even a full star.
Yeah.
No, but I love how it's like 10 out of 10 not recommended.
Yeah, not recommended.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
thanks for that.
I'm glad, dude. The fact that like gets out here, just going through the slog, dude, watching because it's like we've watched some like solid movies, man. And he's gotten it.
We're picking some weird ones because it's like
You know, yeah.
So love you, brother. I appreciate you doing this, watching being a part of the film club and everything. Because I don't know if he's ever watched like a movie from the 70s. That's like ancient.
Right.
That's like fucking hieroglyphs on the cave walls to a lot of people, and it's like this is what we're starting him with. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then next week's movie
first,
is gonna break him probably.
Next week's movie is gonna be probably the weirdest movie he's ever seen in his life.
I've not even seen it. But anyway.
I know, right? Like,
but
what I know of it.
What I know too.
And Herzog is so dry, but like he has such good pacing that it's like
I got a crush. We'll talk about it, but I got a crush on Klaus Kinski, man.
I know. Right?
Ever since I saw that movie Crawl Space, which is like not what he's known for, but he is awesome. Anyway,
I want to see it. I know. Yeah, you
it's
recommended it.
not good, but it's cool.
I know. Yeah, let's listen to Travis.
All right. Here's Travis.
What's up, Generation Z? Travis here. And let me start by saying MASH was a huge disappointment for me. I can't think of a movie that holds up less than this one. From the opening scene with the melancholy song about suicide, which lyrics were written by the director's 15-year-old son, MASH fails to deliver. It's not funny. It's not exciting. There are no likable characters. There's no anti-war feel to it, nor pro-war for that matter. From our 2023 lens, it's offensive in the very least, but I have trouble imagining that being good back then either. The raunchiness set the stage for comedies like Animal House and Porky's, but at least with those movies, there was a comedy thing in their shenanigans. In MASH, every nude scene felt predatory and cringeworthy. A couple things I read about it were that it was the third movie ever put on VHS, and that it was the first time the F word was said in a movie, which was said during that boring football game. I kept thinking of Dr. Strangelove and how much better of a movie that was, and how Kubrick turned MASH down. I think Kubrick would have done a better job, but then it wouldn't have been trash. I mean MASH. So my question for you two is, was there any scene that you thought could have been funny if it were presented different? For me, the scene where Captain Painless is taking the black pill to kill himself could have been funny if another outcome happened, like leaving him in a box or transporting him to somewhere else to wake up alone. But what was done was distasteful at best, then not mentioned the next day. Was there a scene that could have been saved, or was it all a lost cause? Thanks.
Thanks, Jack.
So
yeah,
much.
that was a very good.
Well, dude, I freaking the son writing the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's so wild, dude. Do you know how crazy it is? When you write music for a show, you get paid so much more money than anybody else.
And it became the theme of the fucking I know it's the theme of the without the lyrics, but it's still the same song.
It's the same tune that he wrote, and he gets money from the show, and he got $2 million from the production of the film.
Jesus,
fuck. He got
that's like the entire budget.
Yeah,
I mean, like obviously he got it on at the end because it made so much money,
right?
But
right.
The 15-year-old son, I saw that too because I noticed that it said something Altman, and that stood out to me in the credits.
Yeah,
because it had a whole page of like the song "Suicide is Painless" written by Jim Jr. Altman or whatever the fuck his name is. But I agree with that. That scene with suicide, I thought for sure, because there was a bit earlier. I mean, this is back when I thought the movie was going to be, like a movie and comprehensible, and one thing would lead to the next thing. They mentioned earlier that amphetamine went. They thought amphetamine. Yeah, I was way mistaken. But they're like, amphetamine went missing again.
Right,
and I was
again,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay. So people are still on amphetamine, obviously. Maybe that'll come up. And then they're like going to give him these drugs, and he's like, I want it to kill me. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, bud. And I'm like, oh, they're going to give him amphetamine, and he's going to be all fucked up, like methed out, or it's going to be heroin or something, or like he's going to go on a trip, or like they're going to give him something. And no, instead they're just like, let's basically prostitute out my girlfriend.
Not
even girlfriend,
anyway.
just
but,
my camp girlfriend,
my property,
my
of the
prostitute.
camp for this time. Yeah.
Anyway,
like I said earlier, the suicide scene was like a scene where I'm like, wow, this, like, you could have gotten something, like, even for the time. I'm like, the time, it's like, it's so funny because there's like, people were like in even more open in certain ways about sexuality and stuff. It's like, for how staunch it was
compared to
it's kind
these
of
days,
weird.
like, we're really
right.
I mean, last years we've kind of taken some stuff backwards as a society, but it's like, back then it's like it was sort of an awakening. We had this movie was made during the fucking summer of love, like
right, and that's kind of where I'm like, it's like coming from that, but then you can tell that's like, even though Robert Altman, he claims that he's like super liberal, I just like, it doesn't reflect in this movie, and so I'm kind of like, all right, maybe I'm missing something like for his overall, and maybe there was like, maybe he shot all the footage and he had his vision, because the movie gets made 3 times. It's written, shot, and edited.
Yeah, sure.
And so maybe in the editing room he was like, oh wow, I don't have what I need, because that's what he said. The microphone, cutting to the microphone and doing the speakers to kind of stitch the scenes together, that came to him. He did most of the editing on
Thank
this
God,
film.
because honestly, that didn't do much. Like that,
It
you
did
saying
enough
that
to,
is
like,
doing some heavy lifting I didn't even realize.
Right.
Because I'm
Right.
like trying to imagine the movie now without that.
Without it,
And it's so much worse for it.
yeah, exactly.
Because it's
and that's
already
what like,
disjointed and fucking it. Anyway, we're over on time. Let's just fucking, we're done. We're done. I'm done. I don't ever want to talk about MASH again.
No.
We'll I'll watch. I might watch the show because I don't have anything else to watch. So maybe I'll just watch it until I want to kill myself. So we'll see how that goes.
And then we'll have a
I'm
pissed. I know I've been singing that. Like, no, and like I was singing it. I'm like, suicide is painless. It makes a lot of changes or something, or it's like, it causes a lot of changes. And
it
I'm
changes
like,
your whole
what are you
family.
talking
I'm gonna
about?
fucking blow my brains out.
I'm like suicide. Like, I mean, technically, like, doesn't change anything. You just go away and you're gone. But it's like, but what do you mean? I was just like, so like the lyrics are like and then when I found out it was written by a 14-year-old kid, I was like, oh, okay,
that tracks. Yeah,
that tracks. Yeah. Like, they thought they were being deep. Anyways.
So
we're
still. Thank you for everyone.
The...
Next week, so we're watching more 70s movies still. Next week, we're watching Aguirre, or however you pronounce it, The Wrath of God. Werner Herzog, Klaus Kinski, fucking some Spanish Inquisition type shit. I don't even really know. I know this movie kind of has a reputation, but I don't really know the whole deal. So I'm excited.
It's the one where they move the boat, right?
I think it is, but I don't.
It's the one, right?
I'm pretty sure.
That's what I thought.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I didn't look it up because I just remembered that name and I just looked at it.
I've seen
he actually kills indigenous people in it.
And
so it's just like
wild
out. It's like kind of weird. I'm like, I can't really root for it, but it's like I kind of do. So I'm like,
I've heard the stories. I've heard the stories of like Werner Herzog and like Klaus Kinski like sticking a gun in his mouth and like basically and like in this kind of movie like is fucking, if you thought French Connection and MASH were like raw doing it DIY, go to South America and kill a bunch of people.
We're gonna go like no regulation.
See.
It's just like Cannibal Holocaust, where it's like I love that movie so much, and so I'm excited to see this.
Cannibal Holocaust is
so good.
It gets a bad rap. It's really good. It gets a bad rap, but it's so good.
Well. Go watch it, dude.
Yeah.
You out there in the world.
You person listening, if you made it this far, you're great. I love you. Check out the Patreon. We got new bonus podcasts of more recent movies. We just
so much bonus episodes coming out.
We just did Oppenheimer.
Another war movie, another perfect war film. Oppenheimer.
Perfect. Despite
watch
Oppenheimer's
that.
flaws, though, like every time I'm gonna just
yeah.
compare MASH to every other movie I see and be like, this movie's the best movie ever made. So- I've seen worse movies though, but it's
Which is- yeah,
the fact that this
true,
is. I mean, this has got like an 87 on fucking Metacritic or something. So I'm taking crazy pills, I guess, or so. Anyway, we're way over. I'm ending it. Goodbye. love
See you later.
you.
Thanks
You
for
made it here.
watching.
We love you. You're great. Thank you to everyone on the Reddit. Please, those of you that vote, if you listen to this, come give us the reasons for your votings if your movie wins. I want to hear the people who voted for MASH. I wanted to hear someone being like, I fucking love MASH and here's why. You know, I want that opinion too, because a lot of this was just us taking dumps on it. So anyway, goodbye.